Good evening and welcome to QUIZZY Monday. Yes, we've had another 3 brilliant shows tonight, and also if you're listening to Radio 4 earlier, a very, very exciting edition of Counterpoint. Catch up with that if you didn't hear that. Loads of quizzing been going on. We'll hear about the nominees for Quizzer and Team of the Week later in the show, but let us catch up on who won the vote last week for Quizzer and Team of the Week. Last week, you voted Shanine Salmon Quizzer of the Week for her performance in Counterpoint, winning her heat quite brilliantly. Second was Gareth Kingston for a QLL Full House, and third was Nick Paul for an OQL Full House. Team of the Week was Bristol University for their performance on University Challenge. Second was Strigiforms from Only Connect. And third was Lions of the Isles for their performance in OQL. Well done to all of those. And if you want to nominate a player or team, go to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. Submit your nominations and we will try and include them next week. Okay, so congratulations to Shanine and Bristol there for those wins. And last night we had our All Things Quiz members quiz for January. We played Richard Osman's House of Games style quizzes. And if you want to be a Patreon member of All Things Quiz and support us, we're a not-for-profit channel. In fact, we're a much for loss channel at the moment. Then you can join us Patreon membership starting at £3 a month. We had 2 new Patreons join this week, and we want to say thank you to them. And last night's quiz was won by Michael McPartland, who has very nicely in the chat said, unlike you, Gareth, you deserve to win this week. I don't think I did deserve to win Quizzer of the Week, but it's very nice of you to say so. So yes, tonight we are joined by Mother's Ruin from Only Connect. I think Joe might be having some issues connecting at the moment with camera and mic, but I can bring on and bring Joe on when she's ready, but I can bring Katrina and Veronica on. Evening.
Hi, Gareth.
Yeah, so if you're listening, you can message us to just let us know if you're having problems. Yeah, join us when you can and I'll try and pop you in. So, Katrina, Veronica, it came to an end tonight and it felt really hard watching the show tonight.
I'm glad that's been a reaction really because difficult. That was our takeaway as well. Yeah.
Veronica, I mean, you know it's going to take a step up when you get to this sort of stage of the competition. Did it surprise you kind of quite how tough it was?
I think it did. I mean, it wasn't helped by the fact that we'd been quizzing the day before, so we'd had the round before the day before. So we were, and I don't think any of us appreciated how high we were going to be on adrenaline. So I think all of us have spent a sleepless night. We spent the morning wandering around with not much to do and had
in the rain,
in the rain. Can't God at its best. And I think so. We were not of our best going in.
Yeah, and it got delayed, so we didn't start filming in the end until about 7:30 at night.
Yeah, it was
having been waiting around all day long.
Yeah, and we were tired. And I think then to be hit with what were some very hard questions. And I mean, it is annoying looking back. There's a couple we should have got, and we should have got.
We should have done. Yeah.
But that's the way it goes, basically. And a horrible maths question.
Oh
no!
We all get asked that, and we know there's a maths teacher sitting around.
Yeah, but even then, I don't think he picked that up for a bonus, did he?
No.
I mean, when I was on Only Connect first time I was on, we had a maths question. I stopped doing maths at 16. There was no way I was going to, unless it was a sequence of plus, minus, multiplied, even then I'd struggle. But that one, it was just...
I was going to go for 1 on the basis that might be what a sequence we're done with, but Joe's slightly more numerate than us. And
Joe's got A level. quite mathematical. So, but a maths teacher.
Yeah.
Joe, welcome. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry, no end of technical issues. Yes.
No, wonderful to have you.
Last question. Horrible.
I mean, obviously, I'm sure there are probably some maths people in the chat saying, I don't know what you're talking about. That was really easy. I have to say, I think unless you see that and know what's going on.
It's the bit where Bobby Seagull posted a tweet of both of those two looking at me as if I'm supposed to know what's going on.
The funny thing was because Andy, being a maths teacher, saying afterwards, what are my sixth formers going to be saying to me once this is out?
I always think teachers are very brave to go on quiz shows, particularly when there's scope for their specialist topic to go wrong. Michael's saying maths questions back straight to Quizzing's Room 101.
Yes. No, I am totally secure in the knowledge, she says, crossing everything that no child at my school will have heard of Only Connect, let alone watch it. I've got away with it so far, and I really desperately hope that's continued.
Well, I don't think there's anything for you to kind of be concerned about anyway, because anybody watching Only Connect knows that it's a tough quiz, and anybody watching it tonight knows that it was a tough episode of a tough quiz. And round one must have felt, Trina, you were saying about how late you started the show, filming the show. You didn't need that round. That was just hard.
And the annoying thing was, looking back at question one, we should have got that on, not only on the fourth, but
there were several. Yeah,
there was, there were several that we should have got. So the riddles we should have got. The tennis question, I knew that. And I could not justify knowing that. And my team captain does not quiz with me for my sports knowledge. And
and the one with me was Gillian Anderson as well, because I was so close. I spent about 40 seconds trying to explain to these guys who Jason Watkins was, but I couldn't remember the name of any of the programs. You know, the one with the vampire and the werewolf, and they all live in a house. It's him with the red head. He's really nasty.
I know.
And they should have. I was thinking that I got as far as the Crown, and I got as far as someone who plays the same character in the Crown in these different periods, and I didn't make the link with the Prime Minister dates, and I knew. It was Gillian Anderson who played so several like that we were kind of 70% of the way, and they just But the questions that Porky and Scott weren't any nicer than us.
No, it was really low scoring one. It was absolutely vile throughout, and I think we might have done marginally better on. Actually, no, it was just fine, wasn't it?
Gerard's saying, I got Gillian Anderson. Here we are. Whoops. I'd thought of making that a sequence myself. I think the problem with that one for me was Jason Watkins. I recognise the name. I know he's an actor.
Yeah.
But then you also think, but is there somebody else called Jason Watkins who may have been out there? I did see sort of parliamentary dates in there. But then I just went to politics. It didn't go to the Crown, and I've watched the Crown. And I remember him. He was Harold Wilson?
It was Heath.
Oh, was it Heath?
Yeah.
And it's just, it's making all of those leaps of kind of deduction under pressure at probably by that time somewhere around 7:30 at night, when you started to feel tired and hungry and it's
and exhausted and just absolutely broken.
Yeah.
I mean the one go on, Gareth.
No, I was just going to say another one where there was a lot of processing that had to be done, and I heard one of you say Joan Baez. It's like, so you recognise Joan Baez, but
Joan
what
Baez
the hell is 12 about?
We didn't make the bridge.
Just very difficult to make those sorts of leaps.
Once you got Celine Dion, and because watching it back, having completely tried as hard as I possibly could to put all of this out of my mind, and sort of Celine Dion is CD, and that's the third and the fourth.
Third, fourth, 3, 4, and then
making that work is just just
and then and as well the Romeo and Juliet when they both knew.
Yeah. And that was the thing, I think I had my confidence shaken so much by the first round that I was like, well, I know that this is from, and then which direction are we going, and what is the order of the words, and what actually it could have been a 5-pointer
Almost straight away.
and it ended up being a 2, and it's just like, I just didn't have.
Yeah.
Well,
it's really difficult when on the first clue with something like that, you've got to gamble.
Which way is it going to go?
Which direction it's going in.
Yeah.
And there is a logical direction to go in, which is the one it did. But you'd be gifting points to the other team if you went in on 5.
They got it on the second.
Yeah. We could have got on the second. We could have done. Yeah, but we didn't. Yeah.
But I still thought that was a good get because again, then you've still got to be going. You still going to be reciting what's going on. We had something on University Challenge like that the other week as well, where they had to be going through the Shakespeare verse to get to the answer under pressure, under time. So I still thought that was a good answer, really good answer. Paul Lavery, sorry, thought the Val surname. Thought the Val surname mashup was one of the finest questions I've ever seen. So that was the bias.
One of the worst.
The problem with that, Andrew was so fast. He was
no, not that one. The Joan Baez question. Well, we would get Andrew later.
Yeah, I mean the question that's haunted us for the last 10 months is Henry VIII was a virgin. It's a bit more nuanced than that. And Veronica is I mean, I know my history, but Veronica is a big history buff. And it wasn't that we thought he was a virgin, but it's like, okay, Joan of Arc.
It was the Joan of Arc. It was the unconsummated marriage that was annulled. It was stuff that Madonna says.
Yeah, so Madonna claimed, but she wasn't really. So that in the song, that kind of works. And then Victoria really went to bat for
they
this one.
edited it really kindly, actually, because Veronica, Mum talked at great length, and Victoria said, "Can we make this work?" Because yes, so Joan of Arc was a virgin, and Henry VIII did have the marriage that he said was unconsummated, and was Martin Luther known for being a virgin? Oh no, he had 7 children.
Six children, or whatever it was.
A whole bunch of children. No, they edited that so nicely.
Yeah.
They were very kind. I thought I was going to come out of that looking like a real idiot, thinking that Henry was a virgin.
And you look like you'd come up with a plan that didn't quite work, but made logical sense. It was all good.
They're very kind in the edit, actually. I think in general, I remember when I was
they go for you
in season 10 because they're not there to make a fool of people. They want to just kind of make an entertaining program, but entertain by answering the questions correctly. And I think we've come to expect now really nice editing, and long may that be the case, because that makes teams feel safe. It makes players feel like they can throw stuff out without fear of being ridiculed. And I know there was Ian Toms from the Cunning Planners was really concerned about one of the answers they'd given the other week, and I watched it on TV and it's like, nah, there's absolutely no reason to be concerned.
No, I have I had sort of thinking, oh God, I'm going to have a complete idiot. But they cut it nicely, really nicely.
Yeah. The excommunicated one was nice though. That Madonna thing was a nice little kind of flip. Gerard saying, I had no idea Joan of Arc was excommunicated. There was a lot of politics that went around.
She was recommunicated after she was dead, but that was not a great deal of use.
Well, maybe for her eternal soul, might be helpful. But yeah, so that was good. You got the Texas Jessica Tandy Staples Comet one though.
Yeah.
So you didn't exit that first round completely blank. And that was I don't know, the defunct retailers thing. I was just thinking office supplies. Somehow Staples going bust has passed me by. So But yeah, Comet in Texas.
So many have gone past.
Yeah. But,
But
so
it was
yeah, so 1
really
point.
low scoring.
Sorry, was that Veronica?
Really low scoring.
It was 1.3
Yeah.
points, and it's a quarter final, but nonetheless it was low. Some nice gets from the More Porkins. The ringtone one I thought was a nice
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
Yeah. Quite wanted that question.
Yes, that would have been worth a point to me, but
Yeah.
I liked it better than excommunicate.
Yeah. Now, one thing that was revealed was that at the start of the show was that you're a family team. We see quite a few family teams on over the course of this series, which has been good. Had you quizzed much together before you went
Not
on
at
Only
all.
Connect?
No, not
Only, Trivial Pursuits growing up and things like that. We'd never.
We board gamed a lot. So Veronica's my mum, who was Katrina's mum was Veronica's sister, and we board gamed endlessly and hung out together a lot. And
some years ago, as it stands now, Trina lives in London, Joe lives in Leeds, I live in Norfolk. We don't get together very often. So it was one of the things about applying for Only Connect was we actually met up, and that was quite a treat.
Yeah.
I'm sad that having got through it, we're not going to be doing that again.
Because there was 2 years we had Mum and I did a pilgrimage to London where we went and had a nice lunch and went and failed to get on Only Connect. And I'm actually quite sad we've not got to do that this January. It's a bit upsetting.
Well, hopefully you'll make it to the reunion that we are organising for the end of March.
I'm going to try and move some heaven and earth and get down to it.
Oh, I know you've got more complications perhaps than previously. So yeah, round 2, we talked about the buyers, we talked about the tennis and the impenetrable mathematics and the film. So, and yeah, in fact, we kind of covered that one off. So, walls wise, both teams were really, really good at solving the walls. Not necessarily at knowing the connections, and I think that was the thing that gave you hope when the more Porkins went into the walls ahead. In your heads, you must have been thinking, okay, well, we've got to think that they're going to get 10, therefore we've got to do well on this wall. Obviously, when it came out after the walls, you're both level on 10 points apiece. But did you feel the pressure going into the wall that you could be out of the game by the end of it? Or
we were, as far as we were concerned, we were out of the game.
Dead and buried. It was just. I know it's only 3 points, or 2 points difference, but we'd scored so badly, and
it felt so horrendous.
Yeah.
I remember I had so much adrenaline. I would remember I was skipping around the studio trying to get my stress out.
And we knew that More Porkins are a really, really super good team. And we expected them to get.
Yeah.
I mean, by this point of the competition, obviously you're both really good to have got there. But how much did you know about More Porkins? Do you hear stuff on the grapevine? Does the production team or other teams tell you stuff?
We just spent several hours in the green room.
Yeah.
Gradually falling in love with these awesome people that the More Porkins are, and
I think it was a dastardly strategy on their part to be utterly lovely and remove our killer instinct. And
there was a lot of that about actually.
Yeah.
I think for me, because our previous match, our second round match against the Cryptics, which went really, and a lot of things just kind of fell for us beautifully. And I think after that one, that was the day before, wasn't it? I think I kind of this thought, actually, that one really fell for us. The next one might not. And I think because it had just, the first 2 rounds had just felt like utter carnage. Even though we weren't that far behind, it just felt so hideous.
I was amazed when I watched it this time. I thought we weren't further behind. I thought it was absolute disaster.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, interesting that the impression that time can kind of build in your mind of how things have been. When you watched the More Porkins wall tonight for the first time, what did you make of it?
I liked the Williams.
Williams.
Nothing else.
Yeah, the champion group that they failed to get. They must have been kicking themselves with that one, because that was.
I think we've done about the same as we do.
I think there's been a lot of. There's been a feeling. I think some of the walls this season have been quite disparity in terms of difficulty. Those two, I think, were fairly even.
I think if we'd done it, we'd have got 4 groups and 3 connections.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
So as we did, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd seen it before with the Morporkians, that they communicate very, very well as a team. So that it was no surprise that they solved the wall. I mean, Steve's put in here, don't remember seeing a team solve the wall, but only know one connection before. I think it's testament to the really, really good logical approach they took. That you could solve the wall if you by spotting similarities in things without necessarily knowing the precise answer. So they got the book prizes early on, but the other stuff they just kind of knew that they fitted together, but didn't quite know why.
I think having a strategy for the wall is a really important thing to do.
Yeah, we should have done that.
Well, we had a strategy, but I think just sort of panicking wildly, which is what some teams do. I mean, they don't do it. We didn't do it, except right at the end.
No, but you played the wall really well, and you had a beastly the rush
that's another thing that's really, really, really haunted me.
Strelkov, where is I couldn't get
because
it was Lara, wasn't it? We didn't.
It was because we solved the Brian's instantly. Put Lara in there and forgot about it. And I actually I saw Jonathan Taylor from the Studio Films at breakfast the next morning, and we talked about how we got on. I said, we had this. We had 4 Russian names left, couldn't place them at all, and it turned out they were from Dr. Zhivago. I said, but it's not like there was Lara in there or anything like that. Would have given it away. And I was on the tube home with Veronica. She's come back to my place. 1 stop from home, and I went, Brian Lara. It was there all along. So that's my tip to any future contestants who might be watching this. If you've got a group you can't solve, look back at the groups you have solved, because there could be a red herring that you just because you solve something so quickly, you just don't register it as a possibility. Whereas if we've been looking at 5 Russian names and it included Lara, I would have got that 100%.
Yeah. That's a really good tip, actually, because sometimes the most obvious thing is the one they place somewhere else, and therefore you forget about it. Because otherwise, you got the Bryans, you got the Irish food, and the kind of winners one. Yeah, you just needed that little key, and had you got it, that would have made it a very different, very interesting match.
But we were then up against Andy.
And
my clear recollection of that missing out is of Katrina and Joe going like that all the time, just being a microsecond behind Andy. They just were. I mean, he was so. I mean, you don't get it all on the program, but he was so fast.
Yeah. He was. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just have to kind of applaud the play of somebody when they're that sharp.
And it puts pressure on as well, because we had the wrong answer that I gave, the calla lily. And we've talked about how time kind of distorts on this program. But I remember clearly the entire thought process, like, okay, Andy's really fast. He's already got the first 2. That means we're 2 points behind. We can't afford for them to get this as well. Looks like calla lily will fit. I don't quite like it. Like, maybe you grow it against a stake. Maybe it's got a stem. No one else has gone for it. Okay, I'm going to go for it. And again, and if we'd been points ahead, I wouldn't have gambled on that. I remember very clearly that whole process that I was going through in that split second. And okay, it didn't come off. It wasn't the right answer. It didn't work.
Well, Victoria gave it to us, and then they...
Yeah, that's it. So we did finish 16-14, and then it got disqualified, and we went down to 16-12.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because it got 1 out, Calla. But yes. But no, because I think Mum and I both thought Calla Lily and dismissed it. But it's how it goes. And like I said, the previous game had just fallen for us, and that one just did not. And Andy was an absolute demon.
Yeah.
And yeah.
He's brilliant. And when you talk about the editing earlier, as we were saying, the way they edit that one really to keep a constant pace, because there can be quite a lot of waiting in studio for the clue to come up, and then everybody dashes for the buzzer. But they're always giving a certain amount of time for the viewers at home. So yes, you probably don't. If you've not been on a show, you probably don't get a sense of quite how fast the buzzing was.
No, not at all.
Almost instantaneous, I'm sure. At sometimes it just.
Andy was phenomenal. I mean, the other, I'm much slower, but Joe and Katrina were really fast. But he was just wham, very good.
Well, I mean, well played to the Morporkians. They nicked it. They are a lovely team, as you said. Really, really enjoyed watching them, and we'll look forward to seeing them again. But we've really enjoyed watching you, and it's really this series. It's just really high quality in terms of the play, but really high quality in terms of just the people and the general kind of lovableness of the teams.
Some of the best people I've met on this show. It's just it's amazing.
It's formed a really strong group.
Yeah.
Not everybody hasn't chosen to be in, but for the ones who have, it's just a really strong, supportive group.
I think we've got 43. I think out of the 48 are on there, and and it's really active. We're just chatting and supporting each other, but also asking lots of coming. I mean, I've been particularly busy coming up with only connect questions and walls, and
If you ever get sick of translating, Katrina, then you blatantly have all kinds of talent.
But
vile questions.
Yeah, but it's also really kind and supportive and lovely.
And that's lovely to hear. And it's a refrain we've been hearing all the way through this series about how this group has bonded. Beyond that, has being on Only Connect done anything else for you? I don't know, in terms of confidence or anything else. How do you think the experience has kind of added to your life?
As a family, I think it has been great because it has brought us actually very much closer together. It's not particularly easy for us to be together because we live differently. We live some way apart. But I think it has pulled us together. So sort of on that personal level, it's been great.
Yeah, we've played the Connections League last season on the back of this as well, which again was an opportunity for three of us to get together every week.
We're going to do it again.
You need. I'm waiting for.
That's a yes. I'll find the time somehow. Yes.
And that is an opportunity for people to play. Across seasons, or if you haven't even applied, to get used to playing. So that's really good. But
and then as well, the other teams. We've had a couple of reunions, more are planned. I think it's just lovely to meet up with a group of people who enjoy the same kind of thing and who are lovely and kind and supportive and who have fun together.
Yeah, there's a group of us next month going to see Molly from the Cryptics has actually written a musical, and there's a group of us going to see that musical called Ghostlight.
Okay, and where is that?
It's a pub theatre in London. I can't remember the name, but yeah. Ghostlight. Watch it. Come, it'll be brilliant. She's incredibly talented. Yeah.
If you find the details, we'll gladly share it on our social media. Assuming there are tickets still available, then we will have to promote that.
Yeah.
As we have with Alan Flanagan, who was on 2 series ago, who's got a run of a show coming up in London in March. So lots of talent in the Only Connect community.
Golden Goose Theatre.
Which one, sorry?
Golden Goose Theatre.
Golden Goose Theatre. Okay, so look out.
Ghostlight by Molly O'Gorman. Sorry.
Yes. No, that's fine. We are happy to promote a Ghostlight by Molly O'Gorman. We will, definitely look out for that, and we'll definitely share that. So that is great. So, I don't think any of you watched University Challenge or Mastermind, did you? So, what I'll probably do at this point.
Most of University Challenge.
Oh, you watched? Okay, that's all right, Brooke. Then happily keep you on for a bit. But I guess I'll ask now what your champagne moment of the night has been, and also your champagne moment of your Only Connect experience.
We go, Skip.
Okay. I mean, quizzing wise, it's quite hard for us to pick out one thing that went really well tonight.
Well, I find
You
it's
know, the
nice.
wall was a nearly, Romeo and Juliet
Yeah.
was a could have been more.
Mhm.
Honestly, I'm going to be cheesy and say it was the atmosphere that we played that match in. They made it an absolute pleasure to lose to them, and I came out of there feeling really upbeat despite having been knocked out in the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And overall, I think probably the moment for me was our first wall when we got a 10, and we solved it. We'd worked hard on the walls in practice, and I think we worked throughout the series. We worked well on walls together, solved them quite calmly and efficiently. And so getting that 10 was probably my highlight overall.
Lovely. Veronica, how about you?
I think the highlight overall was working together. I think when we first did our first audition, they said, "Yeah, you're very good, but you don't actually talk to each other." And we hadn't got the idea. Actually, you just have to share ideas, and that something will happen. In the last one we did, I mean, it was probably the wall. I mean, it could have been better, but it was still a good wall. We still got there, and we worked well on it as a team. So
Yeah. Okay. Joe, how about you?
This is going to be a long-winded one. Is that all right?
Yeah. Yeah, far away.
So it was 2020 was massively weird in that the week we went and filmed our first Only Connect episode was the week I went back to work for the first time in 10 years. I'm a mum of 3. My middle one has a rare syndrome, has significant learning and behavioural difficulties. I don't get to stop being a mum very often. I was saying to someone today, my very, very first night away from all of my children was down in London auditioning for Only Connect in 2020. My second night away from all my children was in Cardiff filming Only Connect. And then all of my time I've ever spent away from my children has been spent doing Only Connect. And we had this massively emotional long weekend filming where I was missing my children profoundly. We'd filmed the cryptics the day before, and that had gone swimmingly, and we'd filmed this, and this had gone terribly. And it was just the champagne moment was this thought of, I can go home and hug my children, and they're going to stop asking me hard questions now. And everyone was saying about, has Only Connect affected us? Yes, it's yeah, I'm a very different person to, I think, who I was when we filmed those, and it's very interesting to watch them back. Yeah, that basically. But yeah, I remember calling home and speaking to my let list and saying, I'm coming home tomorrow.
Yeah, you made Sarah cry, didn't you?
Yes, I made Sarah cry.
She was staying on and not going back to her little one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, my God, to not be with my children and to be doing something for me was all so actually many kinds of a champagne moment that is quite difficult to explain.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, because it's such a shift from normal life, such a real transition. The closest I get was the day I was meant to audition for 15 to 1. I was meant going to the hospital with my dad and then going to do an audition, and he was diagnosed with cancer. So I was offered a place on the show and put off. And then when I did have the audition, he was seriously ill. And then when I went on the show, he died a few weeks before.
Sorry.
But it's that sort of thing of actually, you've been in the midst of one environment and then you're in a completely alien environment. And it was just, a really, in a way, it helped me, it has to be said, because all of a sudden a quiz show didn't actually seem so important. And how I didn't seem so important. But that's probably the closest I can get to kind of empathizing about, being in an alien situation, very alien, probably not even close to your situation of, only having like, 1 day away and that sort of thing. But it's amazing what quiz shows can do for you in that sort of regard. They can be, for me, a little bit of a pressure release, a little bit of a change. It can be empowering.
For a little while, you leave everything behind because there's nothing else to do but focus on where you are. So everything else, important as it is, just for those few minutes goes. And that is incredible support, I think.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like everyone else has said, the totally awesome friends I have made along the way. And I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah. And it's wonderful. It's been wonderful hearing that all this series. It's, when you hear it once, you think, oh, that's nice. When you hear it every single week, it's like, it's just incredible. And testament to the great casting, to the way they look after you, the fact that I think this type of person who goes on this show as well is just, our birds of a feather flock together, and very much so in the case of this series by the sound of it. So lovely. I am going to play a short video, and then we'll come back and look at what else has been happening. Gerard Mackay won last week's What Is the Question competition. The answer was Vine, and his question was the name of which famous app, which lasted from 2013 to 2017, began with the Roman numerals for the maximum length in seconds of its videos. Well done to Gerard with a win on debut. Now, this week's answer in need of a question is Whisper, and you can now vote on the long list at tinyurl.com/WITQ-Whisper. Voting is open till Wednesday when we'll release the final list, and you can vote for your winner. Don't forget, you can submit questions for What Is the Question. Every Sunday we release an answer in need of a question on Facebook and Twitter. All you have to do is reply by Monday at 4 p.m. to be included in the vote. So well done, Gerard, who's been watching this show since we first started, and only last week decided to play, and then he wins on his first week. So, good on you, Gerard. Mastermind. Now, once you've done a show like Only Connect, the inevitable question is, will you do something else? Would any of you fancy Mastermind? Tonight we had the films of Nicole Kidman, Constellations of the Northern Hemisphere, Kids' Books of Roald Dahl, and Take That. Something for everyone. Is Mastermind something any of you would consider?
I don't think Mastermind, no. On the spot on your own like that. It's, I mean, it was...
Yeah, the special subject. I just don't find it very interesting. I don't want to... I'm too old anyway.
Oh, nonsense, Veronica.
Oh, no. But I just get bored with one thing. I wouldn't want to do that.
That's a fair comment. You'd have to put a lot of work into that one thing.
Yeah, you would. Not interested.
No. So something like Pointless, something like where you're with someone and it's comes across more of a fun atmosphere, maybe. But
it meant a great deal to me being part of a team. As someone that has never been able to put myself forward for anything ever. Although this madness was my idea, wasn't it? The thought of doing it solo, just all kinds of no.
It just doesn't seem fun in the same way,
No.
It's definitely a very different idea of fun from Only Connect. The way I likened it was the first time I did it. It was, I don't know if any of you have ever been to Alton Towers and the vertical drop roller coaster.
So many kinds of no.
And I remember the first time I did it, and the queue was long, and it took ages. And the longer and longer it was like, oh my god, this is. I was getting more and more worried. And then I did it, and the next thing is I want to do that again. And for me, Mastermind was like that. It was the build up. Did all right in the chair. Next thing, and I've got the adrenaline rush, and it's like, okay, I'll do that again. That's the only thing I can liken to it. So it's that perverse kind of fun of being scared that you get with a thrill ride. Tonight we had some people struggling in the specialist subjects, but pulling it together in the round 2, which was good. But the leader after round 1, James, who did films with Nicole Kidman, managed to win quite comfortably by 3 points. So well done to James for doing that. University Challenge. Veronica, you'll know this if you watch this. Bit of a one-horse race, that one. Jesus College, Oxford, Cambridge, sorry. Or they'll kill me for that, saying wrong. Jesus College, Cambridge just ran off the first 6 starters and just never looked like being caught. When you're watching something like that, you've been on a really hard show, Veronica. Do you get a feeling of what other people think when they watch you Only Connect? It's like, I'm happy if I get a few. What is your mindset when watching something like University Challenge?
With things like University Challenge, actually, my feeling is if it's English or history, I should get them all. If it's the science ones, I've got hope. I mean, the one I was impressed with was the captain of the Oxford team who gambled, who really pushed it. I thought he was an absolute star. He was unfortunate. I think that the rest of the team didn't gel. It didn't work so well. It's so much. It isn't like Only Connect in that you gain a lot from being together on Only Connect. You haven't got that on Only Connect on the whole, and I don't think it worked for him. For them.
Yeah, I mean, that Cunanan, he was very good. He got 4 buzzes. You're right. He was gambling, but he had to gamble because the match situation dictated. I was also impressed by Wallop on Univ, who buzzed him with adultery as a bit of a comedy. Well, it turned out to be a comedy answer. I don't think he thought it was. But then immediately having negged, he then the next question buzzed in and gets that one right. So really showing resilience. So I was impressed by that. But Jesus were just really solid and really strong. A very, very good team. Lillian Crawford, who's been on the show and she writes for University Challenge. Again, I detect her fingers in some of these questions, the diversity of the questions, the representation of women in the questions.
That's come up a lot, hasn't that? Is very much stronger now, much more so than it's ever been, I think.
Yeah, and it's now almost guess the Lillian questions, but fair play to her. That's how the canon gets expanded. That's how quizzing gets more diverse and inclusive.
If I were advising someone now, I'd say do as much as you can on women scientists and other, specialists in the field. Find the women, because that's where the push has been, hasn't it?
Yeah, because they've gone over the same old ground time and time and time again, and now women film directors, women artists. The door is open on University Challenge, and long may that continue, because I think it's a better show and a more testing show for it. And I know Lillian's left the show, but I hope they carry on with that, because it's become stronger. And interestingly, this is the first ever series where every team is mixed gender, which again feels like a choice and is a very good choice. So hopefully that will carry on.
Well, it was interesting. I mean, Victoria Corey Mitchell posted that of the teams, there were 5 women in Only Connect tonight. That has changed a lot.
One of the reasons we wanted to go for Only Connect was we were sick of it being so male, and it has been we've met more women than men this year.
Yeah, our half of the draw was half female, half male, 12 and 12.
Yeah.
And the other half I think was similar. So it's been brilliant. Yeah.
So these things are open, but I think people say you can't be what you don't see, and you need people to be on these shows to be able, to give inspiration to others, and you need the subject matter to be not kind of closed off for the old, the old crowd, the old boys network, and I think yes, things are moving in the right direction. They're not right yet, but they are moving in the right direction. Only Connect has always been pretty good in that regard, but nonetheless, I think this series has been another kind of high watermark, and hopefully it will keep improving. So any other thoughts on University Challenge, Veronica? We've got a comment here from Chris that Agarwal was immense. He was superb. He got 1, 2, 3, 4 buzzes for Jesus, including the first one of the day. yeah, okay, so that's University Challenge. The only other comment is, if you haven't listened to Counterpoint, block your ears, what I'm about to tell you. Only Connect alumnus Dave Workman won today after 2 tie breaks. It was an absolute cracking match. Yeah, it's absolutely superb. I think there might have been, it's definitely 2 tie breaks. It was just an absolute thriller to kind of sift it down to 2 people and then find a winner. So listen to that. Counterpoint has really come on as a show, and that was another fantastic episode. So we are now going to look at the nominees for Quizzer and Team of the Week. We've had so many nominees this week that we've had to kind of turn some of them down. Particularly a lot of nominees from our friend Yi in China. We've included some, we couldn't include all, but this is a pretty strong list of nominees. Join a community of fellow quiz lovers. And that's the wrong video. We had a bumper crop of nominations this week and we couldn't include everybody nominated. So here's who made the cut. Kevin Ashman for getting an OQL Full House and 7 out of 8 in QLL. Ma Bowley, winner of episodes 2 and 6 of the Chinese Poetry Quiz Show. Jennifer Blanton for an OQL USA Full House. Clive Dunning for an OQL Full House. And Peter Edis for an OQL Full House. Andrew Fanko for 7 out of 8 in QLL, as did Joey Goldman. Evan Lynch for becoming the champion of the World Series of Quiz and winning the Speed Quizzing Elite event. Tonight's Mastermind winner. Cheng Peng, winner of episode 12 of the Chinese Geolocations Quiz. Bruno Ricardo, the MVP in Quiz Nations Portugal this season. McKinney Sizemore for 7 out of 8 in OQL USA Regions. Rob Sutherland for 13 out of 15 in the International Culture Challenge. And Dave Workman, winner of Counterpoint's Heat 4. The Chinese Poetry Quiz Show is running every night at the moment, and we've had a nominee already for winning 2 episodes. These players we want to give a shout out to for winning 1 episode. Tian Dadi, Zhu Hui, Zhu Yanjun, Jiang Ziyi, and a big shout out to Long Yang, the presenter of both the Geolocation and Poetry Quiz shows. And the nominees for Team of the Week. You got Gnus on the Raft, who beat League Leaders in QLL Division 2B. London, who beat Islington in the QLL President's Cup. Tonight's Only Connect winners. SQF for their 52 points in Division 4 of OQL. Oxford Dingoes, who beat the leaders in OQL Division 4B. Tonight's University Challenge winners. We're still on mute for a high-scoring OQL USA Division 5 win. And we have a clutch of teams who won in the Chinese Poetry Quiz Show. Team Yellow River, Team Taoli, Team Sun, Team Jinjiang, Team Muyu and Team Jiang Huan. You can now vote at tinyurl.com/QW30Jan23. That's tinyurl.com/QW30Jan23. So, yeah, loads of nominees. Michael says no nomination for winning ATQ members quiz. Harsh. You're right, Michael. We will add you to the vote. That was just an omission on my part. Gerard's saying the Chinese Poetry Quiz Show. We do have a mix now, don't we? Yeah, these Chinese shows are incredible. The scale of them, the production values, the poetry one. Kind of poetry is a good description, but I think it goes a little bit beyond that. It's into culture. The geolocation one, a really good geography quiz, very glitzy. So we will keep nominating from wherever people are. All Things Quiz does cover stuff from all around the world, and we like having these nominees from China. What we got here? Oh, Yi, there we go. Ms. Long Yang presented. Oh, the National Treasure and Poetry Quiz Show is not the geolocation one. Sorry, Yi. That was Duan Chun. So correction noted. That is Yi from Ningbo, China, who has done those nominations. Chris says you need to be entering the Chinese Poetry Quiz Show, Michael. We'll brush up on it tomorrow. There are worlds to conquer, Michael. Worlds to conquer. And we've got a guest comment. Andrew. Andrew says, they were such a delight to play. Andrew, your ears were probably burning earlier as we were saying how brilliant you were on missing vowels. But good to have you on here.
Yeah. My secret ambition at the start of this was like, we said, okay, we don't want to disgrace ourselves. We don't want to. I was like, well, it'd be nice to win a match. And like, my secret ambition was quarterfinal, go out to the eventual winners. Now, no spoilers. I don't know who ends up winning, but it'd be lovely if it was the More Pockians.
Yeah.
The Morborkians are the nicest people in the entire world ever, and I love them all dearly.
No pressure, Andrew. But you know, now everyone's rooting for the nicest people in the world ever. Catherine is saying, I'd be interested to see a few sample questions from the geolocations quiz. I think if you look at our video from either last week or the week before, Catherine, Quizzy Monday on YouTube, we've got a link to an episode of the geolocations quiz. And then Rowena, I think either on our Facebook group or on the YouTube, did some translations and stuff, so you can find out a bit more about it. But it's fun, yeah, it's really good, and it's great to celebrate different quizzing cultures. But yeah, we've celebrated the winner of the geolocations one and the poet person who won 2 episodes of the poetry one, and I'm sure whoever ends up winning the series, we will end up celebrating as well. Thank you so much, everybody who's been here in the chat talking to us today. Say, yeah, with you in China, and we've got people from America and loads from Europe. Truly international. Thank you so much to Mothers Ruined. Been an absolute delight watching you and a delight chatting to you. And yeah,
I'm just sorry, this is it, and we won't be on again. Yeah.
Well, you never know when I might come a knocking. We're always up for people who will do a little bit of punditry. So yes, you might not be talking about yourself, but who knows? We might have you back at a later point to talk about others. So we will be back next Monday. I don't know who the guests will be, because in true fashion, until the BBC start putting stuff on the website saying who teams are or individuals are, it's really hard for me to second guess. But we will be back. We will have some guests, and hopefully you'll join us again next week. Until then, thanks again to Katrina, Joe, and Veronica, and we will see you again soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.